show Kevin. So I just turned this on. When I wanted to show you, so for the purpose that I know we wanted to tag up, but a couple of things that I wanted to get out of your time was, one, I want to show you the BRD, which is the business requirements document, which is ultimately my deliverable back to Keith and Brad and whoever the hell else asks. You know, what are we doing, and you know, how are we capturing what we're doing? At the end of the day, I want to turn over to you this document, and in that document, I expect to have 5 different aspects of answers to you in that document. 1 being, what is the current state? 2 being, what will it be? 3 being, what are options across all the different processes that we could tee up to evaluate whether or not we're going to pursue them. I'm not saying we have to do them, but I want to articulate different options.
Okay.
Either through use of SFDC, use of internal restructuring, which you guys are already down the path of with your role realignment, or use of automation, actually drafting out some scripts and letting some, you know, just code run some human in a loop stuff as a replacement. So those 3, as is, to be, what options. 4 being, what do I recommend? How if it was me, how would I go about taking the options and implementing them in a roadmap? And then 5, the process documentation. So if you wanted to hand it off to somebody and say, hey dude, I know you're new, here's how you do process PSOs or whatever. Right. Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm articulating that again for this video, so that way if anybody else is reviewing it and they wanted to see what, you know, what are we doing, that's what you're going to get out of this business requirements document. So I'm going to turn over to that, and I want to show you, earlier in the discussion that you and I had, you know, I said, hey, we could review Lucidcharts, but I really don't care about the Lucidcharts in the cloud platform. What I really care about is the BRD and what is going into that BRD. The Lucidcharts are really documentation or backup for that BRD. So I want to review that, the BRD, and if we need to make modifications to the BRD and it leads us to the Lucidcharts, well then great. But otherwise, I just want, from here forward, I want to be working on getting that document, you know, prepared and ready for you guys to receive as a, you know, as a final deliverable. So so let me show you what that looks like at the moment, because I know that you guys tagged up with Kevin, and I really want you to echo this feedback back to him. And again, the reason for the video and the reason for recording. So let me pull this up. I'm going to share my screen here. And then I want to walk through some of these segments, okay? Well, you know, I should pause here, James. I just told you what I want out of this meeting. Is that cool with you, or did you have a different intention?
No, we were going through the Lucidchart, so if we stick to this document, it'll probably make more sense.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good start, and then I'll be more up to speed on what we'll cover with Kevin tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me minimize some of this so we can see a bigger view of it. Can you read my screen? That's probably a better question.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to start from the top and start scrolling through, and I think you'll pick up the different sections that I'm going through. So here's just standard boilerplate, you know, for any kind of business requirements doc. And here's a point that's worth mentioning. Typically in a process documentation flow, you wouldn't use a business requirements doc to capture that, but we're doing like 3 different things or 4 different things in this document. We're capturing process flow. We're also trying to capture how can we make it better. So that's why I use this, because, well, one of the primary reasons was, 1, I wanted to document it. 2, if we were to hand this off, let's say, for instance, that I'm not the guy who implements the automation or the SFDC implementation, which I think I can do, but let's assume for a second I'm not the guy. If another software team comes in this is what they would look for. They would look for some sort of, what are your requirements for you to code out? And that's why I wanted to start with this kind of documentation, because if it's not me, I want you to be able to hand them this and say, hey, dude, we already did the legwork. Now I just want you to start coding. See what I mean? So,
Okay.
So that was the intention. And that makes, I wanted to make sure you understood that, because that would be different if it was just purely a process flow diagram. So, I mean, another way to say it is, you're going to see a lot of shit in here that probably is beyond the scope of just process flow, but it's because I want you to hand this off to a software development team and not miss a step. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So software development team would expect a business requirements doc, and they typically follow this boilerplate template. So it would just be, you know, hey, here's who's doing it. Here's sign-off material. It comes down to the contents, and I wanted to walk through this with you because it matters. I'm trying to track the revisions. So when I complete revision final, that will be the starting point for this revision history. Everything up until then, I'm not documenting because it's all draft. Okay, so just so you know. Then another standard part of a business requirement document is a RACI, and I'll show you what that looks like. It's this. It's who owns what, and it comes in the form of this acronym, which just stands for responsible, accountable, supports, consulted, and informed. RACI. That's what the acronym stands for. And I'm listing these people as those kind of responsibility sets. And so, you know, this is probably the first thing for you to review is, hey, this is the guy, this would actually be like a sponsor. And so he doesn't really fit in here. It's more of a supports, but I put it as an authorized because he's really who chartered this.
Okay.
Then it goes down to Brad, who's kind of accountable. Then to you, who's more of a, you know, your support and your consulting. But and I can change this, but this is the way I viewed it. Was Brad was ultimately the guy who's, you know, when head gets chopped off, it's Brad's head because he's the CEO or the president. But you know, maybe that's you. I don't know. But that's kind of how I laid this out. Ashley as a support role or a consultant role. You know, me as a you know, I prepared this document. So from a responsibility standpoint, if anybody was like, who the hell wrote this? Well, you could turn back to me. So my point is, you know, I'm trying to capture accountability here, and that's what this is for. So don't have to answer now, but recognize that this is in here. And if we want to make that a, you know, something that we want to keep or iterate, then it's here. Does it make sense?
Yep. Yeah, we probably need to put Kevin on there somewhere, but he hasn't really dove in too far.
Yeah. I'm just going to add him for the moment so we can kind of, and again, this is all draft. Let me just put that here. I've been trying to keep, here's another thing you should know is each one of these revisions I've placed out here on my local drive. I just keep revisions. What this means is BRD, I put the date, and then DR means draft 1, rev 1. So you might see instances of draft 1, rev 2, that kind of thing. That's just the nomenclature, but I have all the continuity of the drafts that I'm developing. So if we need to roll it back, we can, but I just wanted you to have that insight.
Okay.
And the other thing that's there is in Google on my drive, which I think I've shared with you. You can verify this, but on my drive, I've created an ESG folder right here, and in it, it has the BRD documents. And so all those drafts are in here. And the good thing about this is if you want to go in and edit the revision, you can. So you would just, as you would click on this document, it would pull it up, and then you have the ability to edit this document. Okay, so and all the revisions would then be modified by you. So I could see what you're revising, and I could change it if I wanted to, but you can keep real-time revisions of what this is, or you can simply acknowledge that, hey, I have access to it, and I can review it whenever the hell I want to. Okay?
Okay.
Were you able to receive the invite to this Google Drive?
I was just looking for it. I remember seeing it. I don't remember if I did what I was supposed to do.
Oh, no worries. When you receive the email, all you'll do is it'll have a hyperlink, and when you click that hyperlink, it'll take you to this. It'll just take you to. It'll take you to. It'll take you to this folder. So you'll see a breadcrumb that'll take you to the ESG folder in My Drive, and that's all it's going to do. Did you want to share your screen and see if you could pull it up, and I can maybe help you navigate to it?
I think I just found the link, and okay, I clicked the link. Now, when I want to get to it, would I
share your screen real quick so I can see it?
Go to the shared with me. Yeah, I got it. I'm in there.
You're in there? Okay, so you can access any of those documents. And I'm trying to keep this up to date, so that way anything I've got I'm putting up here, and you've got it too. Same goes with this Lucid diagrams. So here under My Drive, you're going to see Lucid chart, and each one of those Lucid charts that I developed should be here. So So this is the backup to just going to the URL Lucid chart and go finding it the way you normally would. But I'm just telling you that they're here too, if you needed to just access one site.
Got it. Okay.
So let me go back to here. All right. So okay, so that's the Google Drive, and that's how I'm sharing or collaborating with you. So if you want to make modifications, go for it. Let me go back into the BRD, because I want to continue walking through this guy. Are you seeing my screen again?
Yep.
All right, so going back here, so that's RACI. I'm going to do the executive summary last. It's just to summarize in one single sheet. Hey, this is what I found. This is what I recommend. If you only had time to read one page, this is what I want you to know. Okay, and it's just a placeholder at the moment. It's just right here. I have nothing in it. But at the end, I'll write up what my overall one-page recommendations are. So if a Brad or a Keith or a Kevin of the world wanted to say, hey, Gabe prepared a 90-page document, the hell is it that he wants me to know? Because I'm certainly not reading 90 pages. That's what it'll say. Okay.
Yep. I got that.
Okay. So then the overview, I think you've already kind of got some glimpse into, which is here, and it's just why the hell are we doing anything about this at all, and what are the overall context kind of things you need to know. And you've already kind of seen some of this stuff, but as an action to you, if you could read through this and say, hey, dude, I don't understand what you're trying to get at here. You know, what are you trying to say, or whatever it would be. If you could read through this and tell me your feedback, I'd really appreciate it, because ultimately it tees up the context of what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it, all those kinds of things. And if that's wrong, then the rest of it won't make sense. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So as an action to you, if you could read through that and let me know what your thoughts are, that'd be great. And it doesn't have to be tomorrow. I'm still editing all this crap, so you're going to see like 19 different revs between now and the end of the week. But again, I'm just going through the structure so you understand kind of what I'm trying to capture. And ultimately at the end, if your feedback is, okay, great, Gabe, I see what you're doing, but you're still missing blah, 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 then you can tell me. You know what I mean?
So which one would I, if I had time this evening to look at it, which one would I be looking at?
Today's date, 21 June, draft, and then whatever the highest number of either of these two numbers are. So if it's draft 2 or 3, rev 2 or 3, whatever the highest numbers are, that's what you want to look at. But June 21st would be the latest revision. It'd be as of today's date.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So then background, objectives, requirements, all this kind of shit is still, you know, kind of under the guise of, you know, what are we doing? How are we doing it? It's commentary and context for anybody who's about to use this thing, right? And a lot of this stuff is still in work. What I'm trying to do is get down to this, which is the requirements, which is really the process mapping. And all the process mapping will ultimately lead to populating this stuff with the details that is required. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So two big things that I want to be able to build out of here is, and you've already heard me talk about, is this business case thing. In this business case, what I want to do is I want to lay out a roadmap, and I want to say, hey man, you've got 18 different processes that you're looking to see process improvement against. Really, you have 3 different options. Let me take you to what I mean. If you look at this options, let me take you back to here and show you. If you look at this options section, what I'm doing as I go through the different processes is I'm saying, okay, without me just suggesting what you should do, I'm laying out options. You could do this, you could do that. That's what I'm trying to do. And so in every process that we've documented, what I'm doing, actually, let me take a step back and I'm going to take you right back to here. Our requirements are effectively this. Hold on a second, let me get to it. It's take this list of shit, right? This list of things that we've identified as non-sales.
Yep.
And we're trying to figure out how best to execute these things here going forward, right? We have a typical sales process that works, that's in line, that maybe there's some process improvement there, but really what we're trying to do is streamline all this ancillary stuff so that way we can make the sales pipeline more efficient. And so what I'm doing is evaluating each one of these processes that we've listed in your initial PowerPoint presentation as non-sales activities, and I'm trying to document what those are so that way when we realign the roles, whoever gets this new requirement will know how to execute it. And oh, by the way, I'll also have evaluated to say, I see how you do it now, but can we do it better in the future, right? And so the way I'm articulating that is, here's your requirements, and I'm going through the process of articulating options. And so down here in this options section, I'm going through each one of those different areas. So here's process bulk registration, and I'm saying, okay, there's really 4 different approaches. You can keep the way you're doing it, which is the as is. You can modify it with roles, which is option 1. You can change the roles, and in changing the roles, you might change the process a little bit, but that's an option to streamline the process. There's another option, which is you can leverage the capability in SFDC, right? And that's here.
Yep.
Or you can go to an automation option. I can write some code, and that might be something entirely different than this or this, and it's another option. So for each process, I'm illustrating these options. And when I come back to this, business case, what I'm going to do is say, hey man, I propose that you tackle the following processes with this option in this timeline because it will yield you the best results, right? That's going to be my recommendation kind of summary, if you will. And
okay.
it'll substitute this, which is a timetable, which is say, if you choose my recommendation in 4 months, you should be able to go live with that. It's definitely not going to be all things by July 1. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And so that's why it's taking a little bit more long. I know that, like, from a process documentation, I really believe that I'm done with evaluating your processes. Right now, what's taking me the most time is, okay, I see what you do, but let's think about other ways you could have done it. And does it even make sense to do it that way? And let me give you an example of what I mean there. If you look at this, if you look at one of these options, And let me find the example here. Like here, for this process PSO extension, I've documented the way you've got it. I've changed it for the role. Here you have the ISR doing it. Here you have the new sales associate support role doing it. I don't care what you do. The way you have this option laid out, there's really only going to be marginal improvement if you do it in SFDC. I mean, you might be able to build out a template and hit a, execute template button,
right?
But big deal, right? I mean, is it worth the time and effort to go set that up? Well, probably not. I mean, the frequency to which you do these and the manpower that's going to be required to go modify this, do you really want to go do it? I don't know. I don't know. If you do, I would put that at the back end of the burner in terms of things that you go prioritize.
Right.
Yeah. So my point is overall, I'm trying to make recommendations at the process level, and that business case that I referred to earlier is ultimately going to carry all those suggestions. So I don't want you to think, or I want you to carry forward the message that the process documentation from your recordings is all done, and it truly is. You've already seen like the Excel version of my arrow points from here to here, and then you make a decision. You already seen all that shit. That's not taking me the majority of the rest of my time. What I'm trying to do now is develop a roadmap as to how you'd go about implementing process improvement. And a lot of it is leveraging SFDC and your roles changes from a documentation standpoint, so that way you can hand it off and say, I want you to execute this process this way going forward. The other shit is ancillary, and to be honest, man, you guys have already dialed in your processes well enough that I really don't think that you're going to get a big bang out of automation. In my professional opinion, I wouldn't spend a lot of time coding improvements here. I would spend a lot of time leveraging SFDC, which already has embedded functionality that can do a lot of what you guys need from your Excel spreadsheet and that kind of thing. But anyway, my overall point is I'm trying to capture that here. Here's another great example. Your Activate PSO. Again, I know that I could build out a microservice and build out a database, and we can do all this shit. But at the end of the day, is it worth it? It's really not worth it. This is going to spend me 3 months to do that, and you're going to get about 10 minutes worth of improvement on activating PSOs.
Right.
So do you really want to go down that road? I mean, you can keep Gabe employed, but is it going to help VMware? I really don't think so. So again, I just wanted you to understand that I'm at that stage in this it's no longer really process mapping. I have that done. I simply am trying to make recommendations. So as across all these, I want to say, you know what? In fact, I'll just review it with you right now. This process bulk registrations, if I was going to prioritize something, I would prioritize this. I think SFDC can handle this for you. We just need to work out the details on how to do that. This Activate PSO, probably not so much. I think this enter SFDC, entered PSO data into SFDC, this one and this one, I'd prioritize highly because I think SFDC can handle that, along with this one. This pull email campaign list, again, I think SFDC can handle that. It's just going to be a discussion around your marketing, what you can and cannot do.
Right.
The other ones that I think are big ones that you can do here, this sanitized SFDC database. I think a lot of the upfront discussion and priority needs to be into cleaning out what you have in your database now. And I think an Ashley kind of person can do that. I can do that for you, but I'm just saying those are the priorities right now from a 1 July, go live standpoint. Those kind of things I think are big. The other big one I think is this month end processing. The verification task that you have. Yep. I really think that if we incorporate the classes object into SFDC, SFDC can automate a lot of that for you, and you'll still have some duty around this, but it won't be near as involved as what I saw from the video. So between this dude, these four, between that one, this one, and number one, I think those are going to be your big hitters in terms of an automation improvement standpoint. In addition to your roles, SFDC improvement options on those four fronts are going to help you the biggest. The rest of this stuff is white noise that, yeah, I can help you with, but you're not going to get the bang for the buck.
Right.
You agree with that or not?
I do.
Okay. So that's a recommendation that I want to take to Kevin probably tomorrow, and I'm trying today to get those in process so that way he can see them. So let me show you. Let me migrate from this discussion into another discussion that I'm doing, which is this down here. I'm taking screenshots of all your processes today. Now that seems like overkill, I know. But again, if you were a software engineer and you were looking to automate something, you would absolutely want these screenshots. And the reason why, they call them storyboards in my world, software engineering world, they would call them a storyboard or a wireframe. The storyboards are going to tell me what fields and what data types that I would need to incorporate into either my database or into the actual JavaScript that I would code out, because those things are critical to actually executing code. You can't really code without knowing a data type or the specific data element that's going to be on the display. And so I need these screenshots. So again, it's overkill from a process improvement standpoint, but it's critical if we're going to automate. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So everyone, and I think it'll help you. Like, let's use Kevin Hart as a use case. If you were going to hand Kevin if you were going to try to tee up a discussion with Kevin and say, hey man, this process bulk registration is a pain in the ass. I think what this section will do is say, look, I've got 19 screens that I have to go utilize just to execute one process one enrollment. And you can see every one of these screens. So it'll help articulate the argument that takes up a lot of time. You know what I mean? And so when I go, and it's important for you to know that when I go and I write up the process for each one of these individual elements, the way I'm doing it is in this kind of format. I'm saying, okay, look, here's what we're talking about, the process PSO extension. I want to give a description of what it is. Like, why would you do this? What is it? And I'll talk about what it is. I'll show the process flow. And this is the 2B. This is what we want to train people to, right? So in some cases, we don't know what this is going to be because, you know, if Ashley is able to demonstrate, hey, I can do this through SFDC, I want to update this, right? But this is a good example for PSO extension because I don't think this is going to change much, right? I mean, it starts, you know, it lives through this process, and you know, it's captured. And then from this depiction, I can go right into, well, what does that mean? Well, okay, well, block 1 is talking about process the extension. Okay, well, what does that mean? Here, it's written in narrative. 2, what does that block mean? Well, it's right here. 3, it's written right here. The thing that is important with the screenshots is each one of these will have a link. I'll put in a link here to each one of these, so that way a reader utilizing this can click this link if he doesn't know what that means, and it'll refer right back down to these screenshots. So when I'm referring to a process, he can say, oh, I should see something that looks like this. I need to click that button. See what I mean?
Yep.
So that's really where I'm at. That's everything that I'm doing. And you can see kind of in here, peppered throughout are these different lucid chart depictions, right? Like here's the level 1 as is, which level 1 being, this is the entire kit and caboodle. Everything that I'm going to describe in this document is depicted here. So this is the as is. Here's the 2B. So we're going to rearrange a bunch of these, right? And it's still going to have a particular process flow. My level 1 is describing all of this, I go down a tier and I say, here's my level 2, which is just describing PSO leads, as is and to be, and then I itemize that from the incremental, and I'm calling PSO leads an incremental level 2, right? Because they're kind of different activities.
Okay.
And then as a level 3, I'm debating, but I think level 3 in prior instances would be something like, okay, well, let me describe this lead generation thing here and all the processes that are involved in lead generation, all the processes that are involved in opportunity management, all the processes are involved in opportunity close, right? And so that's why I'm trying to make sure that you and I are in sync with, is that the right way to categorize this stuff? And are these in the right buckets if we use that terminology? And this goes back to repeatability, because let's say now this worked for VMware, but now we want to go use it for Riverbed. Well, Riverbed has an incremental and they have a credit, right? They have new money, they have old money. They have a life cycle. They have, I got to develop my lead. I've got to manage the opportunity. I got to get approval. I got to close it out, right? So I want to make these as generic as possible, so that way as a ESG boilerplate, these things are repeatable. Does that make sense?
I gotcha.
Yeah. So when you're reviewing, I need you to be thinking about what those things might be, and is that the right categorization? Let me show you what I mean here too. I'm going to show you Lucid Chart real quick. So on the Riverbed front, I'm doing the same thing for them. And if you were to look at their process, they have a couple of different nuances, but I'm trying to keep the same kind of depiction. See what I mean? So like if you looked at their account, well, it's made up of different entities, right? You got these different groups, right? It's the same. You've got you got ESG, you got Riverbed, and then you got some form of an end user. In the end user case, it's a little different from VMware because they have direct clients and they have partner accounts. And within those partner accounts, they have these VARs and these distros. They have different tools. They have different end users. Same here, right? So it's the same construct. It's just different details, right? And it's the same here. The life cycle is the same, but they have a lead generation. They have an opportunity management. They have approval. They have enrollment, and then they have closeout. And I did it different with these guys in that I made the new money and the credits the third tier versus the second tier, which is what I did for VMware. But it's the same construct. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do with that, that overall. I guess my point is that when I go through this document and I start depicting like a level 1 and a level 2 and a level 3, I really need your feedback, given that you've been with ESG longer, to say, hey, is that the right way to categorize these things? And if we decompose from an overall total life cycle to a particular activity to a particular phase, what is the next tier that we might want to describe? Is lead generation the right way to do that? Or opportunity management the right way to do? You see what I mean? Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
Okay. So that's all I have. I know I did a lot of talking there, but I wanted you to have an appreciation for what this document is ultimately trying to do, and an appreciation for what these Lucid charts are doing to feed this document. But the ultimate goal here is this document stands alone and becomes the deliverable.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts? Give me some feedback.
It's pretty straightforward. I think I just need to read through it, make sure I understand it, document anything I think might be not accurate or where I have questions, and then talk through it with you.
Perfect. I think that's exactly where I need the feedback too, man, especially down here. Now that I'm already capturing some of these, now that I already have words in here, I really need you to read my words and say, dude, I understand what you said, but you got it wrong. Or, yeah, I get where you're going, but I would elaborate by including this. You know, whatever that feedback would be.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. And recognizing that this is living, right? I mean, until Ashley really does her demo and we agree that we're going to incorporate some of these processes, I really won't be done, right? So this is ultimately going to go all the way up until, no kidding, when we're implementing, before this is final. And even at that point, you might have revisions after the fact, but my goal is to have every one of these processes with some sort of procedure and some sort of lucid chart depiction. So that way, at least we have a drafter of one and we can dick with these as we need to. One thing I am discovering too, though, that some of these things, man, they're kind of like, yeah, I get it. They're categories of things we do, but I really can't transpose that into a procedure. You know what I mean? Like pull call list. Unless I had a comprehensive list of whatever the lists are and the frequency at which we pull them, I don't know how we're going to pull a procedure together to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think some of that may just go into the various roles when we get a true sense of how much time some of the things I'm assigning to the triage group and those support areas actually take up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think, like you were saying, I don't think we can automate everything, and we need to look at what's going to make an immediate impact.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest feedback point that I wanted to make sure I discuss with you is really in the near term between now and July. I really meant what I was trying to describe for Kevin. I mean, if you look, in my opinion, if you said, okay, here's a circle, and that encompasses 100% of everything we can improve, I think based on what I've seen from your processes, I really think that like more than half, easily more than half, is going to be accounted for by just you guys offloading stuff from your ISRs and you over to your sales associates. So just the role realignment is gonna account for more than half, in my opinion. So if they have documented procedure along with, hey, this is your job now, I really think the process improvement will over time happen. It has nothing to do with automation, right? And I don't know if you agree with that, but from my sense, that a lot of what you're going to get the bang for the buck for is there. I'm sorry, man. I think I overtalked you. Did you chime in there?
Yep.
Did you agree or no?
No, I'm agreeing.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I can't see you. I'm looking at this screen. Yeah, and then so
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? You still there? I think I lost you.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You still there?
There's a lag.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that, going back a little bit, I wanted to make sure that I wanted to soundbite that to you because I wanted to see if we were in sync on that as to whether or not you think the roles are really the predominance of the benefit. In my opinion, they are. And I just wanted to sync up with you on that. And I think I just got your agreement there. The SFDC improvements, so say we're at 55% with roles, I would say that's going to get you to like 75%.
I mean, if we take a percent and
do that again. You still there?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Still there?
Yep. There you are.
Okay. So give me your feedback on what I just kind of categorized from a pie graph standpoint.
The other items, right? We have like the big four that we can address with probably Salesforce. But I agreed. Can